I love the discussion last week when we talked about interpretation of scriptures. You can't go through scriptures and then pick and choose which images are going to be literal and which images are going to be parabolic or spiritual, because that's unfair to all believers. How can we say to them, you just read the Bible and then you yourself kind of use your common sense to determine which are parabolic and which are spiritual? That's totally unfair. So we have to realize that the whole book of Revelation is written in parabolic imagery. And as I've said many times, the book of Revelation does not include any new language or new images. There's nothing new there. Now, this may blow people away, but I want to tell them, listen, the book of Revelation, every word, every image has been used before. It's just that by the time you get to the book of Revelation, it all comes together. It's massive. Like each sentence is massive in meaning. Let's look at Revelation 17. And remember, I was saying to you that I'm not sure what the dragon was as an animal. And here I'm taking my own medicine. It's not about the appearance. If it was about the appearance, then that strange beast we were introduced to in the last few weeks, the nature of the beast, the character of the beast, he's part leopard, part bear, and then when you get into the book of Daniel, you got part lion, part bear, and part eagle. What we're looking at is not the appearance. We're looking at the character and nature and the heart of the beast. It comes out in some of the prophetic books where, Daniel would see a beast, and then it would say right there, and the heart of a man was given to it. The heart of a man? We're not looking at creatures to describe their appearance. So I took that lesson, and I started looking at this creature called the dragon. Because I'm sure lots of people, this has become a real mystery. Because there is some description of the dragon. What you're looking at is the description of their character. Again, as I said before, all the seven churches. Oh, I just thought of something. Remember we were talking about dispensations? Did you know they do that to the seven churches as well? They'll take each church and divide it into dispensations. So they'll say, the first church, that's a certain time in history. And then the second church, that's ongoing in history. And then the third church, again, with this teaching of dispensations and times and seasons, it's all messing it up for everybody else. What we need to understand about seven, some things we already know, like seven represents rest, but it means more than that. It means completeness. Sometimes the concept of seven is like overall. Like think of the word overseer, okay? This is what a pastor's supposed to do. He's supposed to oversee the flock, all right? That literally means that they overlook. You could almost see it from a standpoint of them watching from a hill over the flock, watching them all to make sure they stay safe and everybody's finding good green pasture. And this is what he does. He overlooks. As you consider that word, I want you to also consider there is no control involved. The pastor or shepherd leads the flock to the green pastures they eat. That's what it means. Like, the pastor doesn't have to actually spoon feed. That lamb is able to drink milk by themselves. All this imagery is helping me learn, what does a leader do? Well, he doesn't have to control anyone. He doesn't have to make any rules or regulations. His job is to just oversee, look over the flock, make sure they're safe, make sure there's no carnivorous animals lurking around the edges to keep them safe. Anyway, how did I get on that? But that was just interesting. So let's go back to this concept of the dragon. What we're looking at is the concept of the nature of the dragon. So I've learned a lot of things already. Like, for instance, if, let's say, a city was overcome and all the people were taken away. So what you've got is a desolate city. So the Bible would say the dragon would inhabit the waste places, the desolate city. So you don't actually have to know what the dragon is. Like, I've heard all the arguments. You know, it's a crocodile, it's a coyote, I've heard them all, okay? You just have to understand that the nature of the dragon is that it inhabits the desolate places. Let's go to Isaiah 27:1. It says, "In that day the Lord will, with his sore and great and strong sword, shall punish Leviathan." What's that? Well, that's just another beast. But watch how this is all connected. Leviathan, the piercing serpent. Even Leviathan, that crooked serpent. He shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. So this is what the Lord's going to do with his sword. What is his sword? See, again, we're arguing about what is literal and what is spiritual. Well, we know what the sword of the Lord is. It is the Word of God. If we find it easy to understand that the sword is the Word of God, then why do we struggle with the description of the dragon? Again, it is spiritual. It's not the appearance of it. It has all kinds of characteristics. So it says dragon, and then it's associated with the serpent, and it's also associated with the Leviathan. Well, you don't have to know exactly what a Leviathan is. What we need to do was look into the scriptures and see the character of these beasts. So there's two things in this verse that you're being introduced to, and these things have appeared already in the book of Revelation, but it says, "So he carried me away in the spirit." That's John. He's carried away in the spirit, and this is what he sees. He says, carried away into the wilderness. "And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, and having 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay. So the carnal mind sits back and says, gee, I wish I knew what this scarlet-colored beast looks like. See, the Bible is not describing you a description of his physical appearance. You're looking at its nature, and there is certain things coming out already. Now, where is this taking place? In the wilderness. Remember I said that one of the characteristics you can find in the Bible about the dragon, that it dwells in the desolate places. Okay? There's a hint right there. Why is John seeing this thing in the wilderness? It's a desolate place. So what's the opposite of a desolate place? Like green pastures, rich valleys. See, now we're not having any trouble because we know with things like Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. He shall lead me beside still waters, beautiful water, clean. And then there's other places in the Old Testament that said, why do you go and fight over the water and then you trample it under your feet and you muddy it for everybody else? You see? That's not what God does. The great shepherd. He leads you to still waters. Beautiful water. He leads me to the pastures. Well, we understand now. This is the richness of God's word. Going back to Revelation 17:3. We're in the wilderness. I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast. Let's simplify that. What color is scarlet?
Red.
Red. And in your mind, because of all the teaching you've heard over the last several months, what do you think red represents?
Flesh. Blood.
Blood.
Life.
Flesh. The life of the flesh. Now, a lot of people don't understand this because they're not being taught what the blood represents. It is the life of the flesh. Just think of it this way. If you take the blood out of your body, what will happen?
You die.
You die. It's simple. So, this beast is red. My mind always says, how many references in the Bible to red? Okay, I go look. You're looking at a scarlet-colored beast. And there's certain other things that I've also seen, like it has a tail. And it's also called the serpent. And it's also called the devil. Now, some people, in their confusion, will say, well, gee, what is it? Which is it? No, it's all of those things. But you see, when that dragon was cast out of heaven, its tail drew a third of the angels of heaven with him, cast to the earth. Other characteristics that you'll see, he's a serpent. Sometimes people will say, well, which is it, a dragon or a serpent? No, it's all of those things. Because there are characteristics of the serpent built into the image of the dragon for a specific reason. You know, one thing that a lot of people don't talk about when they're talking about the serpent, that I studied the serpent, I somehow connected the fact that Lucifer was a shining, bright angel. In the Hebrew mind, when they describe the skin of a snake or a serpent or a viper, they use the description of something that shines in almost a captivating way. It's not a light of knowledge. It's a light that attracts you in a seductive way. So this actually then gets built into the Hebrew language, that there's different kinds of light. There's light that helps you see, and then there's light that is captivating. I don't know why, but all of a sudden my mind went back to don't fly toward the light. It's a cartoon, the little bug. He's attracted to the light. It's sort of like that. Something that you want to stay away from because it's seductive. So all of these qualities I'm seeing as I'm studying this concept of the beast, I've actually corrected myself, and I've heard myself say how I should study the Bible. Why don't I take my own medicine? It is not the appearance of this dragon that we need to get. It is the characteristics of it. Sometimes when we read the end times, like people say, okay, I believe in Jesus. Well, then you want to ask them, do you believe the words of Jesus? What do you mean? Like, for instance, he says that when he comes back to judge, he made a statement. He said, will I find faith on the earth? Jesus said that. So if you believe in Jesus, You should believe in what he said. That's going to demonstrate to you that Jesus is actually saying, when I come back to judge, will I find faith on the earth? Can you see how that would rattle a normal Christian brain? They would say, why would he say that?
Well, of course there's going to be faith. That's what they would say.
Yeah, because we all, millions of us, have faith. So what is Jesus meaning when he says, when I come back, will I find faith on the earth? Question mark, hanging in the air. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
A kind of question.
Yeah.
See, if you're going to say you believe in Jesus, then we have to believe his words. Let's go to Revelation 9. In Revelation 9, we're looking at more imagery that describes certain creatures, but what I want to do is get us trained to think properly when we're reading the book of Revelation. It's full of imagery. You can't choose here and there and say, okay, that word, that's literal. Then another word you're coming across, it's just a little bit of a mystery to you, so you say, that's parabolic. No, read the whole thing in parabolic, because this is spiritual. Oh, I just thought of something. You know the great whore with the names? And it says it is spiritually called Egypt, Sodom, spiritually called. So we're not talking about a literal translation of her names. This is spiritually, they have the same characteristics then as Sodom, as Egypt. So here we are in Revelation 9, and he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened for reason of the smoke of the pit. Why did I want you to read that parabolically? Well, because other teachers like Hal Lindsey back in the 70s, he actually read this and said, this is pollution. This is air pollution on the earth. Are you kidding me? That's not what this imagery is saying. And there came out of the smoke locusts, unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. Now, wait a minute. Here again, we're talking about imagery that gets all mixed up. Sort of like looking at the beast. He's part leopard, part bear, part lion. You're looking at the characteristics. So there came out of the smoke locusts that were given power as scorpions. All right, combine these two. Just think about each one, and then we'll combine them. What do locusts do?
Devour.
Destroy.
Okay, what do they destroy?
Grain.
Green.
Food?
Food.
And then what do scorpions do?
Well, they sting.
They sting. Okay, combine those two, you see. It's the destruction of your fruit and poison to sting. Revelation 9:4. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass or of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. Whoa, wait a minute. It's not the purpose of a locust. Oh, it's so unnatural to bring locusts and tell them, don't eat the grass of the earth. See, they're part locust and they're part scorpion. He tells them, don't eat any green thing or tree, only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. Now remember, we were reading in Ezekiel, the people that sigh and cry for the temple, the tabernacle, and the angel put a mark on them, and it was said, don't kill those people, right? You're going to punish these people, but you're not going to hurt those, the ones with the mark on the forehead. Here it's flipped. Those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. I'm going to educate you a little bit about this word seal to understand what this means. Hebrews 1:3 says that Jesus is the express image of God. That's a similar word to this. That word, image, means something that is carved or engraved. Now we know that Jesus isn't actually representing the physical appearance of God. He brought forth the glory of God, the truth of God, the light of God, the seal of God in their foreheads. That is the same language as the word image. It's something engraved. So why is it engraved in the forehead? See, this is our thoughts. And also, this is our direction, where we're going. So it's all those things. It's our understanding, our direction. So the seal of God, Jesus being the express image of God, that's going to change our thinking. We've got all kinds of things we say about God, but that revelation, the revelation of Christ, changes that thinking. So it's something engraved inside of how you think. That's what I'm trying to do, is make the connection. We've been taught wrong. We're so caught up in carnal interpretations in the church that nobody considers that, no, this is not a carnal mark. This is an impression on the mind. Changes how you think. The revelation of Christ. I know exactly how this was fulfilled in my own life when I decided that, listen, I'm teaching things that are wrong. I'm going to start over, and I'm going to search the scriptures, and I'm going to believe Jesus as the truth. I'm going to believe his words. Not just that he exists. I'm going to believe his words. Pursuing the revelation of Christ. There's a replacement going on because you're casting down imaginations and then taking up the thoughts of God. Well, you cannot know the thoughts of God. No. Grow up. You have the Bible. That's the thoughts of God. You can know the thoughts of God. You can know the ways of God. God gets after people who do not know his ways. So get your act together, get in the Bible, and learn the mind of God, the heart of God, the ways of God. They're all there. So as I am casting down imaginations and the truth is setting me free, I started thinking about what would happen is if someone had come to me years before and actually declared the truth that I was learning right there and then. What would I have done? I probably would have shut them down because I wasn't ready. I had to make that decision for myself.